Hello and welcome to today's market update. Today is 21st of September 2022. So big day in the market today. The Federal Reserve raised Fed funds rate by 75 basis points as expected by the market. They also mentioned that they expect the Fed funds rate to be around 4.4% by the end of this year, which was higher than what the market was expecting. Market was expecting Fed funds rate to be around 4%, maybe 4.25 by the end of this year. Fed also said that they expect the terminal rate to be sometimes next year of around 4.6%. In fact, some members expect the Fed funds rate to be closer to 5% sometimes next year. I think those were above what the market was expecting. Market was expecting terminal rates to be around 4.5%, but the Fed is above 4.5%. The median is 4.6%. Some members are close to 5%. So it looks like 5% is becoming the norm. Market hadn't previously expected 5%, and that's why overall we saw a negative reaction in the market, because this additional 50 basis point needs to be factored in. Anyway, let's go through the chart and see what the charts look like. So I have an hourly chart of S&P 500. This is SPX. So we'll go through the hourly chart and then we'll look at the daily chart and see what's the view from a bigger time frame. So I've got a downtrend line channel right here. S&P 500 closed right at the bottom of this channel. It bounced up this level previously, but today it closed right at the bottom of this channel. In fact, after the market closed, if we look at the futures, S&P 500 futures, this is the futures, S&P 500 futures, you can see that it also has this channel, but it is now below this channel. So it has broken below this channel, which means that if futures stay where it is, S&P 500 tomorrow is definitely going to break this channel. So that is definitely a negative sign. So we look at where we can expect S&P 500 to go to when we look at things from a daily perspective. If we look at NASDAQ, for example, quickly, so we've got the channel right here. NASDAQ hasn't quite reached the bottom of the channel, but if we look at the futures, this is the cash market. So if we look at the futures actually continue to sell off, and then it has now broken below the downtrend. So this is the downtrend in the futures market, and you can see it's slightly below. So the futures stay where they are. By the time NASDAQ opens tomorrow, it should close below the lower end of this channel. If we look at the SPY and QQQ, so this is what QQQ looks like. So if we look at the hourly chart, so by the time market closed, it hadn't reached the bottom, but tomorrow, if the futures remain where they are, so we should see it test the bottom of the channel, possibly even go below that. SPY has closed below this channel. So hourly charts are definitely looking weak and pointing to more weakness ahead. Now, if we move to the daily chart, so that we can understand what's happening from a higher time frame. So this is S&P 500. So I've got a channel here. This is one way of drawing the channel. There are different ways you can draw it. But the reason why I drew it is because I see that there is a significant resistance at this top of this line. You can see resistance right here. You can see there was a support here, support here, support here, There was support here which then was breached, and then more recently we started selling off from the top of this channel. So this channel looks like the top of the channel looks like a very important zone, and if you look at the midpoint of the channel, it was also a support right here. It became resistance here, support here. Last week support was held, but this week this level was breached, which basically means that for all intents and purposes it is now projecting, this is S&P 500, to move to the bottom of the channel right here. So this level is around 3665, 60, 3660, 3665, at that level, slightly above the lows because of this slight upward bias to the channel. But either way, it is now projecting that a retest of the June lows. So this is one way of drawing the channel. I mean, surely you can draw the channel a different way, but I think I want to follow price action and see how it reacts when it goes to the bottom of the channel. But at this point, it is projecting to go to the bottom of the channel. We're not that far off. S&P SPX is closed at 37.90. If we look at the futures, we'll see just to get an update. So this is basically what the futures look like. They continue to sell off after the close of the cash market, so the futures is now around 37.80. The bottom of the channel is around 36.65. So that's roughly 120 points away, which is maybe another 4% or so. So even the futures, you can see that it has a similar pattern, but it looks like there's a good chance that we could see the test of the bottom of the channel. If we look at the NASDAQ, the daily, so this is NASDAQ 100. This is the cash index. Again, I've got a channel drawn up here. Top of the line acted as a resistance and then support on a number of occasions. So if we go to the bottom of the channel, so just draw it properly. So this one has a slightly downward bias. So that would suggest that we might see a slightly lower price in NASDAQ. So the bottom of the channel is around 10,960, 950. So that'll bring it in line to the June lows, because the midpoint, which acted as a support here, has now been breached. So it's now projecting for a move towards the bottom of this channel. If we look at the NASDAQ futures, just to get an updated price, you can see that it's also heading towards the bottom of the channel. So they have a similar pattern. It's just that it's a little bit more updated because the futures trade overnight. If we look at QQQ, just to see what the projected price is, this is QQQ. The projected price would be around 265 if it reaches the bottom of the channel. For SPY, if we look at SPY, the daily chart, so that projects a price of around 365, which would be the bottom of this channel. So overall, the daily chart is also looking weak because you can see series of lower highs continuing, and I think that will probably continue until such time as the bottom is reached, because right now it's in kind of no man's land. I mean, buyers don't want to step in. They might be more interested if it goes to the bottom. Sellers definitely are in control. They want to take it all the way down to the June lows. So buyers pretty much are staying on the sideline. Maybe we might see some reaction once it reaches the bottom of the channel. So definitely the next few days, if this continues, we might see a test of this low fairly soon, but the trend is definitely down. If we look at the what happened in the bond market, so this is the yield on 2-year notes. It continued to rise. It rose 8 basis points to close at 4.05%. So it's now above 4%. That's because the Federal Reserve said that they want the Fed funds rate to be around 4.4% by the end of this year. So the 2-year is almost 50 basis point lower, so it could still move higher in coming days. If we look at the 10-year, which spiked at the beginning, it rose as high as 365, but finished lower by 4 basis point at 3.53. That's because the 10-year is now discounting some weakness in the economy in the latter half of 2023 and definitely in 2024, because the Federal Reserve said that as a result of these increases, there is going to be the slowdown in GDP growth. There would be increase in unemployment rate. So even though the Fed is expecting a soft landing, but they are accepting the fact that there could be a modest recession. And that's why the bond market, the 10-year is discounting that. If you look at the 30-year, in fact the 30-year fell 7 basis points because 30-year basically is looking out further and thinking that perhaps there would be a recession as a result of these increases, especially if Fed funds rate move up to 5% sometimes in 2023. So that's why the long end of the bond yield curve actually didn't rise that much. They fell modestly. If we look at the Fed funds future, this is the Fed funds futures for March of 2023. It's now about 453. It rose almost 12 basis points today to close at 454. So with Fed funds expected to rise to around 4.6, the median projection by the Fed is around 4.6, and some even have it closer to 5%. So we could see this one move up more in in coming weeks and months, closer to 4.75 to even 5%. So the short end of the yield curve is definitely rising, but the long end, the 10-year and the 30, they are positioning itself for weakness in the economy later in 2023 and 2024. That's why we're not seeing a similar rise in the yields on the long end. If we look at VIX quickly, so this is basically what the VIX looks like. So again, it tried to go through this middle of this channel. So I've got this channel drawn up. It's been bouncing off the bottom of the channel. It hasn't been able to close above the midpoint. It made number of attempts. Even today, it traded above it, but closed just below it. So we'll see whether or not there is whether there is spike in VIX, in coming session. If market continues to fall, whether we see a spike. But at the moment, it seems to struggle to get above the midpoint. So we'll see how that plays out in coming days. If we look at the gold market, so this is gold. This is the weekly chart of gold. You can see, so I've got this channel right here. You can see it's right at the bottom of the channel. So if I look at the daily chart, you can see that for the last few days it's been hovering just at the bottom of the channel. So so this is an important level. If it can if it can bounce from here, that would be there is a chance that we could see a bounce right here. So resistance would be right here initially, which is around 1710 and then 1750. So it's forming a nice base here. So we'll see whether or not it can get through this level 1710, and then 1750 would be the next level. If we look at the oil quickly, oil continues to be in a downtrend. It lost $1.29 today to close just below 83, so remains in a downtrend. Um, Although there is some support right here around low 80s, but but the momentum indicators remain weak. The MACD is well below the zero line. RSI is heading lower, so we're not seeing any kind of pickup in momentum. So it remains very much in downtrend unless it takes out this the top of the channel. The technical picture is not going to improve much. If we quickly look at some of the sectors, so this is XLK. This is the technology sector. You can see that it's now coming to retest the June lows. We're not that far off from there, so this is looking weak. Momentum indicators are weak, heading lower. If we look at XLY, which is the discretionary, so that's also heading lower, but it's still some ways above the bottom, but it is moving, it is making lower lows. Even the defensive sectors, they were under pressure. If you look at XLU, this is the utilities, so that is also making lower lows. So even the defensive sectors are also coming under pressure. If we look at semiconductor, they continue to head lower, and the bottom of the channel. So we could see a retest of the June lows. If Nasdaq continues to head lower, there's a good chance that semiconductors would also be heading towards the June lows at this point. If we look at the biotech, so the biotech is now coming up towards the middle of this channel. So there was support here, middle of the channel. Support was breached, it became resistance. So it needs to hold the midpoint. If it doesn't, it then exposes the bottom of the channel. You can see that it's been spending a long time inside the top of the channel. You can see it also spent quite a bit of time on the top of the channel. So what we don't want to see is break below the midpoint. If so, then this area becomes exposed. So we'll see how things play out in coming sessions. If we look at some of the individual stocks, so let's start off with Apple. So this is the hourly chart of Apple. Apple was holding up well for most of the day. We've got this bottom of the channel. So last week it bounced off this bottom of the channel. It didn't quite make to the top of the channel. So we'll see whether or not this level, if this level is breached, then it exposes the bottom of the channel again. Again, it remains in a downtrend, making lower lows. The overall picture doesn't look all that great. If we look at Microsoft, Microsoft remains definitely in a downtrend, coming up to this bottom of this channel. You can see the channel is moving lower, so it can continue to move lower. So we'll have a look at the daily chart shortly. Then we can see where might Microsoft fall to. Google hourly chart doesn't look all that great, continues to move lower, so it's not all that great. If we look at the daily chart now, just to see what that looks like. So this is Microsoft. If I just expand it, so Microsoft has already closed below, just look at the daily, it's already closed below the June lows. It now is projecting the bottom of this channel. So the bottom of the channel, the price is around 224. Having lost the June lows, there's a good chance that we could see Microsoft fall to the bottom of this channel. So weak chart pattern, weak momentum. If we look at Tesla on a daily basis, chart pattern is much better, no question about it. Tesla struggled to overcome the top of this channel, tested this then backed off. So there is some support around right in the middle of this channel, which is around 290. If 290 is breached, then it exposes the bottom of the channel. So we'll see how it deals with the middle of the channel. But Tesla's chart pattern is much better than the other big techs like Apple, Microsoft, Google. If we look at Google, that doesn't look very good. So it now closed below the June lows. So the next area of support is around here, 96. If I zoom out, then you can see so right here you can see that there is some support around here, 96, and then right here, which is around 91. So that's looking quite weak. If you look at the weekly chart, you'll see that it has a flag pattern basically. So that's looking quite weak, and then this would be the support right here around 91. So overall, very weak looking chart. If we look at Apple is not all that. It's not bad, but if we look at the so this is the support area. This is around 151. You can see support right here. So you can see support right here. You can see this was a resistance zone. You can see this was a support here. So this area is important. If this level is breached, then it exposes the middle of the channel. So we'll see how things play out, whether or not it can hold the support around 151. Well, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you like the video, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much.